Beth Bolton, welcome to the Post-Pandemic Pivot Summit. So great to have you among us. If for any of you that are not familiar with Beth, let me just give you a little introduction about how lucky we are to have Beth among us. So Beth, you're a coach, a mentor, a published author of a phenomenal book called For the Love of Cake. You're also a speaker, accomplished entrepreneur, and if that wasn't enough, you're a mom, a wife, and you specialize in helping early entrepreneurs to find their way by helping them answer two very crucial questions, and that is the how and the where to get started in their journey. So welcome to the summit. Such an honor to have you among us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. I'm excited always to tell my story and to let people know what I do and how I might be able to help them further themselves in their business.
Well, that's a perfect entry for us because we are so curious to learn how all this started for you? How do you take the leap into entrepreneurship? Tell us a little bit about the early stages of your life.
So I think, first of all, it was blind faith when I did it.
But, like most of us.
Yeah. But I always loved to bake. And I had a retail job that I was with for 25 years. I went to culinary school while I was working. That company got sold, that retail company got sold. So I took that step and went to work in a bakery. And I worked for a wonderful woman who helped me see the other side of what a bakery is. And honestly, I wanted to make money for myself, not for somebody else. Not that I don't love her and I don't appreciate all that she has given me, but it was my dream too, and I wanted it. So I did leave there. I just took a job closer to home so that I could find a spot. And then I found that perfect spot on that perfect corner.
So that actually, Beth, it's so interesting because you're speaking to all of us, right? You are actually all of us. As you know, the audience for this summit, it's a lot of people that during the time that we are speaking to each other, we are still navigating ourselves out of a worldwide pandemic. Right. And during this time, thousands of people have taken the leap. Either by choice or by faith. And either, a lot of people have lost their job or maybe they had a side hustle. And the pandemic has given us an opportunity to reevaluate exactly as you say, what is it that we want out of life and how do we create that space to go after our dreams. So you're speaking right to the heart of us. It's really interesting to speak with you because you are very focused in helping people build a solid foundation. And I would love to hear more about what does that mean for you, giving your startup, as we all had, and how does that look in life?
So, I have taken business courses and, they teach you how to write a business plan. And you kind of fumble through that, not really understanding the difference between a mission statement and a vision statement and who's your customer and how do you find your ideal customer. And, I found that very frustrating for myself. I actually drew a picture of what I wanted my bakery to look like. But for those people who have a side hustle, it's not so much as just jumping in, throwing some stuff up on social media, throwing a website up and say, okay, I'm going to go. No, absolutely not. First, we have to understand in our hearts why we are doing what we are doing.
That is powerful because most of us just jump right in. And then we're like finding ourselves kind of like drowning in it because we skip that one step. Right. So how do you do that? How do you backtrack?
Well, you know what? I think you start.
Mhm.
You know, you don't say, okay, on Monday, I'm going to start. Okay, it's Tuesday. What are 3 things today that I can do that I can change my business going forward?
Mhm. And how, so you say something really interesting. You say you actually draw a picture of your bakery. So you
Mhm.
had a pretty crystal clear picture of what you were going after.
Right.
And why that wasn't enough. Tell us a little bit how you like made yourself out of like this craziness of trying to define, you know, what what is the first step? What is that vision that you have, your why?
So I did not have the strategies in place. Um, yes, a lot of people came into my bakery. You would think, oh, everybody is my client. No, not everybody is the client of my bakery. Some people, generations have only had baked goods from a grocery store, and to them, that is a bakery. So learning who that person was to cater to. The other strategies that I really didn't have in place was, what are all the things that you need prior to opening up a business? Your federal ID number, your state ID number, making sure you have a bank account that is separate from your own. I mean, there is a specific list that I have in my workbook that tells you these are the things that you need. I did not have all of those things when I started. I thought I knew,
Well,
but I
that's
didn't.
actually most of us, right?
Yes.
Especially in these times. So we have been trained. It's so interesting how in a year and a half of this pandemic, we have been trained to function in an online environment, in a virtual environment. That in some instances is really good. In some instances prevents you for doing exactly what you're saying, right? Most of us will think, oh, well, exactly as you described, we can just put up a website and tomorrow we are in business. And then we sadly find out months later, or sometimes even weeks later, that we didn't prepare ourselves for success. So once we hopefully we'll follow up and we identify the specific areas that we need to do to set up formally a business. What how do you go from, okay, I have my, you know, my license or my LLC, I have my initial documentation to move forward, and then what? I mean, at what point you start moving forward? Because the reason why I ask that is that sometimes we major in the minors. So we spend a lot of time, we can make the mistake also to spend a lot of time in the thinking and planning, but how do you move yourself into the actual doing?
So you have to give yourself goals.
Mhm.
You have to literally write it down. I don't, you can type it in a computer or write it down. I kind of like writing it down because it kind of reinforces everything that I'm thinking. So you have to put a plan in place. You
Mhm.
have to have some type of plan in the event that something goes wrong, how you got to bounce back. What happens if you have to hire somebody and you weren't expecting to hire somebody? You know, what does that entail?
Yeah, that's mind blowing because, you know, how do you even know if that, how to find the right person for your business?
Absolutely. And finding your team is essential.
Mhm. Mhm.
I had a team. There were some good players on that team. There were some rotten players on that team. It was not until 9 years, 8 years into my business where I let everybody go. I moved to a smaller location and I had one person.
Wow. Wow.
So it was the two of us. But the relationship that the two of us had, what, you know, we would sit down, we knew how to plan our day, we knew how to plan our week, we knew what the goal was at the end of the week. There was open conversation. You
Mhm.
have to have that. When you're building a team, you have to have that trust, and they have to trust you also.
So it sounds like, one of the challenges we often face is that we are so eager, as we have been saying in the beginning, we're just going to go, we're going to build our business, we're going to be successful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we don't have a voice. We don't realize that we don't know what we don't know. And it's interesting to hear. And it's a little bit, you're giving us a little bit of license to be good to ourselves, right? Because you're sharing how for you, while you were a very successful entrepreneur business and have a very good business, it took you some time, a long time, to distill down to your ideal staff member. And I'm sure you continue refining who your ideal customer is over that time.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. When I help you create a business plan, first of all, it's done in layman's terms. It's not like going on to the computer and just sticking information in. It is a matter of understanding what it is that you're putting in that business plan.
That is so powerful because, there's so much information in the internet, right? You could just go in the internet and Google whatever it is that you're looking for. I mean, you could literally go to Google and take free lessons in how to take a business, how to build a business plan. But it is the human component that is missing, right? If you're a beginner, this is just like, a foreign language. And you're trying to figure out what's your business, what you should do on top of absorbing all this new information. So it's refreshing to hear that you actually are able to translate that for the regular person to put that in place.
At this time, in the point that we're in the pandemic, there are a lot of phoenixes that are rising up out of the ashes. There are a lot of folks that took those side hustles, like you said earlier, whether they had to take it because they lost their other employment. And it is though there are a few of those people that I am working with are the ones who, for lack of better term, if in need of employment, created their own employment. But I'm helping them make sure that they understand everything.
Yeah, it is. That is really interesting to hear because sometimes either by luck or, you already had a side hustle, you kind of like get going at the beginning and experience some early success. But then, systematizing the process and setting it up as a true business, that is a true challenge for many of us. How do you go from the small side hustle that you had and make it a full-time business? So it's great to hear. We'd love to hear more about your guidance in that process.
So the first thing that I would do with a client would be to sit down, and the first question I ask them is why. Understand why you are wanting to do this. And once you determine your why and your passion, then that's going to be the thing that's going to fuel you to move forward. So I know of a woman who makes handbags, does a beautiful, beautiful job of making handbags. Well, she would go from craft fair to craft fair, but during the pandemic, there's no craft fair. So she said to me, okay, what am I going to do? And I said, you can do a Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Well, she started with a Facebook Live half-hour show every Wednesday night, 7:30. Well, then people started getting to know that she was on Facebook Live every night, every Wednesday night at 7:30. And so her following increased.
Interesting.
She sold more product.
So
go ahead.
It is interesting because there's an interesting space that we are in. So technology, in essence, can help us make up for the ground that we have lost in the face-to-face process of building a business.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So that is that is a very interesting story because it sounds like this woman that you're working with had already a business, but finding clients is the lifeline of any healthy business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And It was a year into her doing it, and one Wednesday night, and I always pop on Wednesday night, even if I just pop in, say hi, and off again. But that Wednesday night, she said, I just want to let everybody know that I've been here for a year.
Wow.
And the reason why I'm here is because of all of you. Each and every one of you has given me joy. And I'm grateful for each one of you. Now I'm sitting here going, oh my God, that's her why. That's her why. That's why she's doing it. So I'm typing it in the chat. And then she said, and oh, by the way, if you don't know Beth Bolton, you need to know Beth Bolton because she's one of the reasons why I am here also. And that just like touched my heart.
Yes, I mean, it touches our heart just to hear that, to hear you say the story. So it's so interesting what you're saying, because by this client of yours speaking about their why, it actually empowers their ability of the potential customer to engage with her as a person. And I think that that is also one of the challenges we may face as an early entrepreneurs. We're so focusing like, oh my God, I got to pay my rent, or, you know, I got to make some money immediately because I lost my job. So I need to make this business profitable. But if I hear you correctly, if we don't know our why, we may be sending a different message to our potential customer.
Correct.
And that could derail our road to success.
Correct.
You speak about 3 steps to make sure that our business are on track. And I think we've been hinting about them through our conversation. But could you tell us about those 3 steps that are very essential for us to really pay attention to?
Yes, absolutely. I know we talked about the why. That was one of the things that we talked about. And then we talk about that we make sure that when we're first starting that we're not mixing any monies. This is something we can all do today, that there is no personal and business money crossing hands. What people choose to do with cash, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know, that's for you to handle and do whatever you want to do with. But if you are using a service, then make sure that no monies are crossing. And then a whole nother misconception is that people will only take cash and not take credit cards because they say that it costs too much money. It's a 3% fee on average. Put that into the price of your goods.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 3%. The world is used to buying online, paying shipping, paying handling fees. What's the difference? Get out of that mindset that your customer is not going to pay it. Yes, they are. They are going to pay it.
Especially now, right? Because we may not be in a situation as we are recovering, you know, through this pandemic, we may not be in a situation where we can be face to face with our customers. So it will be crucial to have a vehicle that people can access the goods and services that we are providing without handing us money, because we may not even be in the same geography.
Exactly. And the last thing, I use the analogy of a bus, that we are the one and only drivers of our bus. And for that bus to be able to travel along the road, it needs to have wheels on the bus. And I believe those wheels are the foundation. So I believe that your wheels should include an accountant, an attorney, a banker, and an insurance person. And then there's one other person that we all need, and that is a trusted soul.
Yes, absolutely.
That trusted soul rides up front with you in the front seat of your bus. That person can take over for you in the event that you are unable to complete a job or go any farther, in the event that something happens. That trusted soul is also going to be that person that's going to look at you and say, what are you doing? Why are you buying that big thing that costs all that money when you really don't need it? We all need that. We need that sounding board.
You, in a very quick way, just gave us a roadmap for moving out of our heads from this concept of this dream of having a business to actualizing our business and taking it serious and making it a reality. This trusted person that you're mentioning, it is such a powerful piece of advice. Exactly. So many of us get caught in the process of like, oh, I really want to do this, but I must have everything in place, the latest version of whatever it is that we are doing in order to jump forward. And you're suggesting that by having that sounding board, by having that trusted companion or partner, we can avoid those traditional blocks in the road.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Beth, you have given us so much information this morning in how to actually move forward from a dream to an actual business that we can call our own. So I have two questions for you as we get ready to wrap up our time together. One, what are 3 things that we can do today to start evaluating our possibilities to create a real business, just as you described?
So I think the first thing, if you have not at all gone through your head and decided what is your why, it is important that you do that. That why will tell you a lot about how, it will tell you about what, but you really have to look inside. I am doing what I am doing because I have a passion to make sure that nobody's going to walk down the road, walk down the path, drive their bus and hit a pothole like I did. I'm going to make sure that you are prepared, at least know how to avoid the pothole, or if you hit the pothole, how fast you need to change the tire to get yourself back up and rolling. That's one thing that you can start. The second thing is never, never, never stop learning.
Yeah.
Find people who resonate with you and use their knowledge to help you move forward. If you can find a networking group or a business coach or a community that you can be a part of that can help cultivate who you are as a person, that will also help you start to move forward.
Yeah. Very powerful advice. We can see how we will be so lucky to have somebody like you as our coach or our mentor. But below this video, our viewers can see the link to get your book, For the Love of Cake, which is amazing. And it will already, put us so much ahead of the game by reading it. But where else can we get in touch with you? I know you are a phenomenal coach and advisor. So how can we stay in touch with you and learn more about you and your work?
So I am obviously on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I do have on my Instagram, Ask Beth Bolton, really hard to find me. I do have a link tree that just links you to my website. It links you to what is happening, what course is going on right now, what workbook course is going on. It has my latest blog post on it. You can contact me. So everything is there on Linktree to find me, to reach me. And really, you should have no problem from there getting a hold of me. I'm really good at responding back. I won't let you hang out in my inbox for,
suffering forever.
Right.
That is phenomenal to hear. And we will actually list all these links to your social media because there are, as we discussed today, so many people that have just jumped in and now, find themselves in a situation where they need to learn how to systematize their business and perhaps take care of the very essential elements that you outlined in today to make sure that your business or business are actually legitimate business that we can grow and scale and get out of our way to ensure that they're thriving.
So if I can mention one more quick
Absolutely.
thing. I do have workshops that are coming up that would be in November.
Oh, great.
There are 2 workshops, and they are the Learning to Drive Your Bus workshops.
Okay. And can we, so we will list the link to those workshops.
Yep.
This session will be, we are talking to our audience just right at the beginning of November. So this will be perfect timing for all of us to join in and figure out how we can participate in these phenomenal workshops. That is so powerful, Beth. We are so excited to hear that this is a perfect timing for us to connect with you and start doing the work that we need to do to ensure that our business are thriving.
I am here for anybody. I really am. I want everybody to succeed in what they set out to do.
Thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough for your generosity, all the information you have shared with us. And I'm sure many of us will be in touch with you to learn how we can drive our bus in a successful way.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.